Hello, I'm live. First time ever. So I've just decided I've had a customer that wanted a example of a dynamic entry user form. Um, Something that I was like offering to build for them, and I just decided to create one as an example and just sort of see how it goes. So this is going to be um, something I've built a lot before. It's just yeah, we'll just get into that. So just going to create a user form here. Background's white, and create a few input boxes. First of all, I'd like to set the font up for the entire form. That means that every other control that you put into the form gets set up with that same font, so you don't have to change the font for every form or every control. So I'll come in here, go Sego UI, size 10, and then we can create a label. I'm going to call this, we'll put a big one up at the top. Make that center aligned. This one can be nice and big and black. And we'll go add data or just entry form. We'll go something like that. I'll give that a maybe a dark background, white text, and it looks like that. Okay. Next label. It's just going to be what we got, name field. We'll have a name field, and then we'll have a this specific customer, they've got an instance where they've got suppliers and things like that. So we'll go supplier, and then we'll create a couple of input boxes. So input box there. I think the height is fine. I'll just change the style of that to a solid border and a flat. So the easy way to do that is to just set the border style to single. That immediately sets the special effects style to flat as well. So just give that a quick test. That looks fine. We'll do similar thing for the supplier, but the supplier is going to have, like, we're going to have a regular supplier, right? So that might be a combo box rather than just an input box. So border style single. I like to have it so that the arrow only appears when we click on the box. So we'll go show drop button when focus, like that. Look there. There we go. Now in our sheet here, we might set up a couple of tables for this. So we'll do table for supplier name. Go ABC Corp. My first business. Some other things. Hey Eve, thanks for joining in the stream. Okay, so have a supply name. We'll set that table name, so it's called table suppliers, and then we'll do. We're going to create a list. So this is maybe this could be like an invoice form or a quote form or something like that. So we'll do a table for item name, description, units of measure, and unit price. Now, I did just earlier get ChatGPT to generate a bunch of stuff, so I'll just copy that over here, like that. And we'll make that into a table, just Control T. And we'll call this table items. Okay. That's probably all. Our form. What I like to do is because I'm going to be creating a bunch of dynamic controls, I like to create a few controls that are sort of templates for those controls. So in here we'll go, um, we'll have a combo box for the item name. So that's going to be this item here. So it's going to be call that text. We'll just call it 1_0. So that's going to be our first item in the row and our 0th row, because this is going to be a template. This isn't actually going to be in our proper row. And then we'll do a regular text box. This can be what, description, text description. Oops, no, text 2_0, like that. So we got 1_0 and 2_0. Then we'll have a quantity field. It can be 3_0. This can be our unit price, 4_0. And this can be our line total, so 5_0. Okay, and then we'll create a frame here. So this is going to be the frame where we have all the controls. So we'll call this what? Frame items. We don't need a caption for that, and we'll set the style to just flat. Just for now, I might just give that a border, make it easy to see. And then we'll create our column headers. Again, we'll give that a single line. We'll make these dark, I think. Dark like that. White text. Make them semi-bold at least. Center a line. Okay, so this is going to be item name. We'll do another one for item description. Make that a bit longer. I have one here for quantity. It needs to be relatively narrow. And we'll do unit price. And finally, total. And I'll just extend that out because we're probably going to have a scroll bar here if we start creating lots of items. So what we want to do is we want to have it so that when we first open the form, we have one row here. If we enter anything into this row, then it'll create a new row, just ready for whatever we want, right? So I'm going to give these column headers a name. I'm going to just call these column 1 and 2, column 3, column 5. All right. And then because this first one's going to be a combo box, we'll set the row source of that one. We've already got our table, so we'll do table items and item name. And we'll do the same thing for our suppliers. We'll do row source, table suppliers, and supplier name. So you just set the row source for them, and then when we run the form, they're already in there, and so are they. Okay. Nice and easy. If you have any questions, by the way, just leave them in the chat. Happy to talk. I'm going to create I want my collection of rows to be publicly accessible, so that I can actually access it from the class and I can access it from the form. So I'm going to just create another module, just mod collection. Give it a really basic name. This is only just for an example for a client, so I'm not too fussed about exact naming convention of everything. So I'm going to do form rows for that, and then we'll do the class module, and we'll call this class form row. So I'm going to make sure that these are going to be off the side of the form anyway, so it doesn't really matter if they're sitting over there. Okay, so we're going to need with events for probably our first 3 columns, because I want these two, which are going to be the unit price and the total price. The unit price, that's going to be pulled directly from here. I don't want that to be adjustable, and the total price is going to be calculated based on the unit price times the quantity. So I don't actually want them to be edited, so we'll make them disabled like that. So in here I'm going to make them public, because I think might need to reference them outside. We'll see. We'll make them private for now. We'll see how we go. So with events, and column 1 as MS Forms combo box, because that's going to be our item selection. So it's going to have our row source here like this. And we'll have private with events, column 2. That's going to be a text box. And the rest of them are going to be text boxes. So 3, 4, and 5. We don't need events on these two. Actually, I might make it so that when this one changes, when column 5 changes it, we're going to update a total for the entire form, I think. Then we're going to have a container. So we'll do a private container, as that's going to be our frame. So a frame control, and private, we're going to actually pass the user form. User form as ms forms dot user form, and then we'll have a create row routine. So public sub create row. This is going to be what sort of builds our rows from outside of our class. So this is going to accept the form, user form, and the frame. So this forms dot frame. So we've been passing a form and a frame. We're going to set them to these variables first. So we'll go set in container, because the form, and set in user form. Oops, other way around. Form there, frame there. And then in here we can just create our column, our actual controls. So they're going to be held within the frame, right? So we'll do set in col1 equals in container controls. Actually, we'll be referencing this a few times, so we'll use with. Dot add. This is forms dot combo box dot 1. And we're going to have the same naming convention. So these are going to be the same as these. So text 1 underscore 0. We'll do text 1 underscore And we're going to need to find out a current index. So we might do something like get index and create a routine for that. And it's of course going to be visible. So before we go ahead, we'll create that routine. I'll click the function. No, that's going to be private. Get index as long. And how do we get the index? So we'll get the index. We can just reference the collection, right? Because we're adding items to the collection or rows to the collection as we sort of add extra rows. So we can just do that basically. We'll just do get index equals form rows, I think it was called, yep, dot count. Okay, so that's going to be the current one, but at this point we won't actually have anything in there, so we'll add one to that. I think that's going to work. And then we'll do the same thing for the other controls. So we'll make a text box. It's going to be the second row or second column, sorry. And do that for these. So 3, 4, 5, and 3, 4, 5. All right. Then we'll create a format rows routine or format row. We're just talking about one row. And then rather than when we build these in the form, we can just actually add it here. So we'll do form rows. This is our collection. So this collection in here, form rows.add, and we'll add me. So that adds this instance of the class to that collection rather than having to add them to the collection from within the form itself. All right, now we got to do our format row routine. So public sub format row. I'm going to create some variables for our sample, these template ones, and for the columns as well, I think. So we'll do the columns first. So dim h1 as ms forms label. And we're just going to reference that form directly. So muf user form dot controls text 1 0. Oh no, sorry, this is the header. So it's going to be column 1. Did I call it? Check that. Yeah, so just column 1, column 2. Probably should call them label column 1, but anyway. So to them 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that. And then we'll do the same for our templates. So we'll call them just T1, template 1, this forms, that's going to be a combo box. One equal, yeah, mmm user form dot controls, and that'll be text 1 0. That'll be a text box. Here's it 2. That's 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. And this should all be 0. Because this is the row number, this is the column number. So 2, 3, 5, like that. Okay. So now we need to format each of these to make sure that they're going to be the same as these and positioned according to our header. So like that's going to come in here, place this in the frame, size it like that, and then have all the same sort of effects and everything as this one. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll go with mcol1. That's our column 1 item there. So the left position is going to be the same as our header. So our header left, but our header's not in our frame, is it? So we're going to take away the container. So the container left position from that. And then we'll do top equals, we could use the pull controls, or we could, I might actually set a constant. So I'll do a private constant for a row height. So private quotes row underscore height as long, and they were, check the height there, 18. So set the height to 18. So the top for that is going to be our row height times our get index, because our index is going to say, and we're just creating our first, excuse me, we're going to be creating our first row. We're going to create our first row. And it's not added to the collection yet at this point. So, and we want this to be, get index is going to be 0. We're going to do row height times 0. That's going to make our top 0. Okay, that's what we want. Then our width, that's going to be equal to the width of our header, because we want to make sure that, you know, all the items in the item name column are going to align with the header in that column. Help if I spell width correctly. Height, we'll do our row height. And then we want to copy all the sort of styles, I think, from these, because when it creates it, it's just going to create a really standard a standard text box, and we don't want that. That's going to look ugly. So we'll copy the special effect. So we'll do special effect equals T1 dot special effect. So we literally just copy the special effect from that, and do the same for the border style. T1 dot border style. We'll copy, we want to make sure the font is the same. So we'll do font name equals T1 dot font name, and the size as well. And this is going to be a combo box. This has got our row source in it. So we'll just duplicate that row source as well. So our row source here, it probably isn't going to come up, but it does exist. Like that. And I think that's it. So then we'll do column 2. So I'll just copy that. Column 2. That's going to be the same. I'm not going to have a row source for that one. But I think that's all we need there. And we'll just do 3, 4, 5. 3. I'll just insert 3, 3, 3. And 4s. And 5s. I think I've got everything there. Okay, and then once we've done that, we also need, oh yeah, so we've created a row. We need to make sure that our scroll height for this frame is adjusted depending on how many rows we've got. So we'll do our container dot scroll height equals our row height times get index plus 1. All right, so we'll just make sure that it's always going to have enough space vertically. All right. Now, let's just have a look at how that looks. So we're just in our initialize routine of our form. So we use a form initialize, we set, what is it called? Form rows. Set form rows as a new collection. And then we create a new row of our class. So dim row as class form row, row.create. And we just pass in me as the form and me.frame items as the frame. So let's do a quick debug. Seems fine. We'll run that. Okay. We've not closed off with somewhere. Where's that? With. I wonder what's doing that. Just going to take that out, see if that might be causing some problems. No. It's got to be here in this form. Class. Okay, so we'll do process of elimination. We'll comment that out. We're still getting it. Ah, of course. Need to make that a new version of the class. Sorry, missed that. Okay, try again. There we go. Okay, so we've got our first row added in here. That's got our item names. Obviously, we want to load in the description and the unit price. They seem to be aligned well with our headers. I don't like how that button's still there, so just check that. What's it called? Show button when. So we'll just copy that from the template. So show drop button when. Show drop button when. There we go. So now it doesn't show. Cool. Okay, so next thing we want to do is going to be, we want to add extra rows. Now, we can actually do that from within the class itself. So theoretically, this should be all we actually need in the code in the form. So we can build extra rows, and because in the create row we actually already add to the collection, we add itself to the collection, which makes it really nice and easy to use. So we'll add in private sub, add extra row. Oops. So all we need to do here, I guess, is go create a row as a new create row, pass in the user form and the container. So that's going to be our routine to add an extra row. We might actually check if we need an extra row, because if we do it every time we make a change to we make a change to something in this row, if every time we make a change to something in this row, it creates a new row, then we're going to have an awful lot of rows. So we just need to check if the row is needed. So we'll make a function for that. So if not row needed, then exit sub. And we'll create a function for that. It's going to be a Boolean value. Give myself a bit of space here. There's fireworks going off outside. I don't know why that. So we're going to get the last or the most recent row from our collection. I think is going to be the best way to do this. So we'll do get a new row, so dim row as CLS form row, and set that equal to our form rows collection, and get the last item in that by just referencing the count. So then we just need to check if anything in this row actually has anything. So we might just check the first column, because it's going to be sort of our key identifier column. So we go if row dot. Now, yeah, we are going to need to make this public. Or I can make that as a property. Actually, yeah, I'll do that. Do it properly. So public property get column 1 as MS forms combo box. Set column 1 equals n column 1. Then we can just reference that, capitalize that. So if that first column text does not equal nothing, then row needed equals true, and the base value for a function or a boolean is going to be false, so we don't really need it, but we'll just set that to false beforehand. So it's always going to be false if we do need a new row, because the first column has something in it, then it's going to set row needed equal true. So then we do row needed and we create a new row. Now we create a new row by when we change something in the first column. So we'll reference that first column. First column, move that up here. First column 1 change. And all we should need to do in this is add extra row, like so. Let's just check that out. So if we add something there, it adds a new row. Add something there, adds a new row. There we go. That's pretty functional. Our scroll bar isn't working. We'll just see what's going on with that. So keep visible. You want that none, but scroll bar vertical like that. So try that again. There you go. We have a scroll bar now. Oh, now these are supposed to be disabled to the unit price and the total, so we'll fix those up. We'll copy them from our enabled, b4.enabled. Make sure, yep. All right, so now we want to load in the unit price and the quantity and the description when we select this item, okay? So for that, I'm going to create a routine here in the class. We'll just go private sub, load row data. It's pretty self-explanatory. So we'll reference that table. So list object, set that table equal to, we have it named our sheet. sheet tables. Sheet tables dot list objects, and this is going to be our items table. So that table there. And then we're going to loop through the table rows. So table row as list row. And for each table row in table.list rows, so we'll loop through, we'll find, actually we can check that because our row source is going to be exactly this. We could actually just reference the list index of our combo box. So we'll set the row, so set the table row equal to our table.list rows. And we do m column 1 list index. So if they select the first item, the list index is going to be 0, but we want the list row to be 1 because that's going to be the first row. Like that. And then we can load in the description because we've already found the row, right? So we select the fourth item in our combo box. That's going to be this coffee beans. The list index will be 3 plus 1. So we get coffee beans. We've already set our table row here to be the description like that. Okay, so we do n column 2.text because our column 2 is going to be the description. Table row dot range, and we just reference the second column in that. And then we can do unit price. It's going to be the fourth column. We might want to format that actually as currency. And then we'll set the initial value of our column 3 to 1. So we're going to have one of that item initially, and then we can update that afterwards. And I'm going to make a routine for updating the totals because we want to be able to call that from when we're adjusting the 3 text as well. So I'll do product sub update total. So that's going to be I'll call that update row total actually. Actually, no, we'll make this update total for the full total. So I'll make a new spot for that. So I'll call this total. Right align that. And we'll just call it text total. We're just going basic, could have, subtotal, then you do sub and discounts and all that kind of stuff, but we'll just keep it simple for the moment. So I'll do update total, row total done first. So what we'll do is when we update our column 3, because that's going to be the only one we have access to that's going to adjust the total of the row. So we'll reference column 3, set that. We can do our 5th column, so m column 5.text is equal to, we're going to format that as currency. So our column 3.text, might make sure that's an integer. And that one's currency because it's going to be our, that's going to be this one, which is going to be our unit price here. and then we format that output as a currency. And then we're going to update the full total as well. Update total. So I'll put that up there. Change events are together. Update total. Right. So first we're going to need our total text box. So I'll do. Actually, we're only going to be referencing that once, so we might just call that directly. But we'll need to loop through our collection. Okay, so dim row as our CLS form row, and then we want our total, like an incrementing total, as currency. So then for each row in our form rows, we can do if row dot. Yeah, we're going to need access to number 5 as well. So we'll do a column 5 here. Row dot column 5 equals nothing, then so if it doesn't equal like a string value, which is going to happen when we first create the row, it's going to have a nothing value in there. So total equals total plus, and then the currency value of row column 5 text. All right, so we just loop through each row, increment the total, grab the total. And then we just need to set the text of the total box. So do m user form dot text equals format total as currency. Oh no, not this dot text. We need to reference the controls text total like that. Okay. I think that's everything we need. Oh, yeah, when we first load the row in as well. So when we load row data, we'll update the total there as well. Let's have a look at that. I'm going to just quickly bring it back. Okay, so set our name, our supplier. It's not loading in the description. Let's have a look and see what's going on. So we'll just put a marker there on load row data. Oh, so we're not actually loading the row data, right? So it's going to be here. Let me change column 1. Okay. Type mismatch. Column 5 dot text. Column 5. That's be a text box. There we go. So our pricing unit price stays the same. Total for the row updates. And we'll get some blue t-shirts. That total is incrementing. Cool. Okay, that's essentially what I wanted to show the client. We'll see what happens. Make sure everything works down here. I do have a way for using the scroll wheel there. Let me just look on my other monitor. I'll see if I've got that handy. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's reasonable. It's functional enough for what I wanted for my example at least. Um, just don't like how with a thing that they really should implement um, with user forms. It should have been done a long time ago, but yeah, there have been workarounds for it, and I think I've done it for another project. I thought I might have saved it to my common files, but yeah, it doesn't look like I've put it in there for some reason. So I have to look at that later. Yeah, okay, so that works. Now we can maybe add a submit button here, and we do submit button, and then we can load it into a sheet so we can print it out. So we'll have a quick go at that. I want to make a fancy button though. If you haven't seen, I think Eve, you should have access to that on Patreon. Um, the fancy buttons thing I've got on there. That's quite a good little tool actually. So I'll show you how it works, just so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'll make a nice big command button submit. Let's call it submit. Change our text, make it nice and big. Maybe not quite that big. Yeah, they're very nice and very easy to use. Um, I do have. I like to make it a custom. Find my hand icon. There. Use custom. So yeah, we've got our button there. So to make it fancy, all we need to do is go to import, go to my common files, and I'll import the fancy button class and the fancy button module. So I have updated these since they went on to Patreon. I do have to put the latest version up, but nice and easy. All we need to do is in our initialize, just call these routines, right? So just make fancy button going to be button submit. Going to be me as the object, and then for our theme, we've got a bunch of themes in here. You can pick any of these. Just a green OK button. The default shape is a rounded rectangle, so I'm just going to leave it like that. And that should, I think, when we run that, there you go. And we've got a nice, better looking button with hover effects and click effects and everything. It tells me that I don't have the click event yet, but yeah, for adding one line of code to my initialize method, I've got that nice new button in there. It's really nice. Okay, so the only other thing we have to do is with our submit click, we just need to make that public. And that's it. That's all we need to do. And for the submit, let's put that below the initialize. So we're going to dump this out to the sheet. So probably only just for the purpose of this, we just need to dump out the item stuff, maybe the total as well, but And the total can be pretty easily calculated on the form. So we'll create an output sheet. This sheet output. And make a named range here. So go new range output start. We got our output sheet. Okay. So we're just going to dump that out here. So we'll loop through our collection. It's form row. Each row in form rows. And we do need access to the description and everything as well. 2, 3, 4, 2. Need all of those. So we'll build an array, I think. So go dim array as variant. Array dim. We're going to have 1 to the count of rows we've got. And then 1 to 5. So we've got 5 columns. It's going to be a number of rows. It's going to be a number of columns. And we're going to need an iterator. So dim I as long. And we'll start that on 1. So then we just need to, for each row, so we'll do array I. 1 is going to be our row column 1 dot text. 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, technically we could no, that's fine. And then we'll do increment our I. That's going to build an array. So check that that's going to work. Submit. We'll check our array. Add it to the watch, and we'll just have a look here. So we've got 4 items. So our last one is going to show. We don't necessarily want that there. Now, the way our form works, it's always going to have a blank row at the bottom. So we can probably just make it form rows count -1. And we'll do if equals nothing, does not equal nothing. Like that. Have a look at our array again. Yep, now we've only got the 3 items. We don't have that trailing one there, which is great. Then we can just dump that out to our range. So just reference that range. There's actually another way of doing a range reference if you haven't looked at it before. So we'll do our sheet output, and then in square brackets, you can reference that range. And then we resize that. So that actually gets referenced as a range object. And then we resize that. So we'll do qbound array 1 and qbound array 2 to our array. And then we can just go me.hide and unload me. Actually, we might just make sure that this sheet is fully clear. Yeah, it's an interesting one. And you can actually do it without the sheet reference as well. You can just do like that. You can reference this just, by with the value like that. ABC, and that just works. So yeah, it's really quite good. Okay, so I just want to clear the cells. There's nothing else here at the moment, so I'm just going to clear contents of every cell. And I might just, in these columns, just be one. And we go entire column. Just check what the syntax for that is. Entire column dot auto fit. That's what I want. Make sure everything fits in there. Okay. So not that the name's going anywhere or the supply's going anywhere at the moment, but we'll do A, B, C like that. Go submit. Okay, it just dumps everything out. So we can then, take this information and print that out as, probably not like this, but we can print that out as a PDF or an invoice or whatever we like. So I also want to put out the total amount. Then I want to get, so I could either add it to the array before I dump the array out, or after I do, I can offset the original positioning by the upper bound, and we'll probably do that. So we'll just try that really quick. So we'll go sheet output. Actually, referencing this quite a lot, so do that. And then we'll start here. We want to offset by the upper bound of this plus 2. So we'll do offset. This is going to be rows. So U bound 1 plus 2. And then columns, we're going to want to be, I want to put the text of total there and then the total value there. So we offset by 1, 2, 3. Actually, need to do 1 because when we're offsetting, it already assumes that we start here. So offset 1, that's our first. So 1, 2, 3 plus 1, like that. And so what do I say for that? 1, 1, 2, 3. Total. And 4, that's going to be the value of our text total. All right, try that again. So do A, B, C. 1, 2, 3. Submit. There we go. That prints it out nice and neat. Auto fits the columns. Probably add in the column headers. But yeah, that's it. That's all I need for my demonstration anyway. Tidy up this code a little bit, get rid of all the extra spacing. Yeah, thanks. Well, like it was just, I just thought I'd jump on here and yeah, have a bit of a play with the concept that I wanted to do and see how it went. Seems it went well. I'll send this off to my client and see what they think. Wish me luck that I get that job. Anyway, so that'll do for tonight. It was just a quick one to have a look at that, and yeah, I'll probably do a few more of these kind of live streams, just playing with concepts and ideas. Um, there was another one I built recently. Uh, this was kind of cool to play with. These little, I made this little sprite that runs around the screen. This was very fun. I just wanted to sort of show this off. I built this once, put this up onto Patreon, and I did it based on the actual sprite cells, and it redrew the cells in here. This is now dealing with shapes, so it dynamically builds all these individual sprite shapes, and then creates a. If I unprotect, oh there. So yeah, I've got a single sprite there with all these different frames, and then it just shows and unshows the relevant frame depending on how they're walking. It's pretty fun. Just cool little cool little idea. Anyway, I'll leave it there, and yeah, let me know if you um, if you want to see anything. Just leave it in the